I did a self-portrait, Miss Patuto. I call it Black Velvet on Black Velvet.
And the message is?
I look good on velvet.
Okay.
These child stars were once everywhere, on your TV, in magazines, and in your favorite shows. But then, they vanished. One became a security guard, another turned into a school teacher, and one literally walked away from fame forever. Here are 16 child stars who were on top of the world until they disappeared. All right, let's jump back to the late 70s and meet the kid whose catchphrase ruled the world. 1. Gary Coleman.
To collect unemployment, you gotta not be working at what you're working at before you stop working. What you talking about, Willis?
Gary Coleman was once one of the most famous child stars on TV. Everyone knew him as Arnold from the hit show Diff'rent Strokes. He had this big smile, tiny body, and a funny catchphrase that made people laugh. What you talking about? But even though he made millions as a kid, his life later became really sad. As he got older, things didn't go well for Gary. He had health problems his whole life because of a condition that affected his growth and kidneys. He was short, not because he wanted to be, but because his body didn't grow like others. He needed a lot of medical treatment, which cost a lot of money. But here's the messed up part. His parents and manager were in charge of his money when he was young, and they didn't protect it. By the time he became an adult, most of his money was gone. He even had to sue his parents for misusing his money, which must have been really hard. Imagine having to take your own parents to court just to get what you earned as a kid. That's what Gary went through. As an adult, he tried to keep acting, but Hollywood didn't really give him the same love they did when he was a kid. He got small roles here and there, but nothing big like Diff'rent Strokes. He also worked regular jobs just to survive, like as a security guard at a mall. A man who once made people laugh on national TV was now being filmed by strangers while working a normal job. On top of that, he had some legal troubles too. He got into fights with paparazzi and had problems in his personal relationships. It felt like life just kept hitting him harder and harder. 2. Emmanuel Lewis.
You remind me of my mother.
I do? Oh, because I was making breakfast.
No, because you were ruining breakfast.
Emmanuel Lewis was a huge star when he was a kid. He played the lead role in the TV show Webster, and people absolutely loved him. He was super small for his age, which made him stand out, and he had this cute personality that made everyone smile. For a while, he was everywhere, on magazine covers, in commercials, and all over television. But after Webster ended, Emmanuel kind of disappeared from the spotlight. He didn't land any big roles after that, and people slowly stopped seeing him on their screens. It's not like he had a public meltdown or did something bad. He just sort of stepped back from Hollywood. Some people thought he might have taken a break or wanted to live a more private life. He didn't completely vanish forever. He popped up here and there, he made guest appearances on a few shows, and even did some commercials later on. But none of it was anything like the fame he had during his Webster days. He also didn't go chasing the spotlight the way other child stars sometimes do. He just kind of lived his life without needing to be famous all the time. Even though he wasn't acting a lot anymore, Emmanuel stayed busy. He got involved with music, went to college, and even started working on behind-the-scenes stuff. From what's been said in interviews, he seemed okay with not being a superstar anymore. He never caused drama, didn't have any crazy scandals, and always seemed chill about everything. A lot of people still remember him as Webster, the sweet little kid who made them laugh and feel good. That role was so big that even if he didn't act again, his place in TV history was already locked in. And honestly, that's kind of cool. 3. Orlando Brown.
I did a self-portrait, Miss Patuto. I call it Black Velvet on Black Velvet.
And the message is?
I look good on velvet.
Okay.
Orlando Brown was one of the most famous Disney Channel stars back in the day. If you watched That's So Raven, you definitely remember him as Eddie, Raven's funny best friend who always got caught up in wild situations. He had perfect comedic timing, made people laugh without even trying, and was loved by fans. For a while, it looked like he had a bright future ahead. But after That's So, Raven ended, things started going downhill for Orlando. He slowly vanished from the spotlight, and people started hearing about him for all the wrong reasons. He began struggling with drug addiction, and that led to a lot of personal issues. He got into trouble with the law multiple times. There were arrests, mugshots, and weird videos of him online that had fans seriously worried about his mental health. It was sad because people grew up watching him and didn't expect things to turn out this way. He was no longer the funny kid on TV. He became known for his problems instead of his talent. The media started talking more about his wild behavior than his acting career. Orlando also had some emotional outbursts on social media and in interviews. He said some bizarre things about other celebrities and even made up strange stories that didn't make sense. It was clear something wasn't right, and fans were concerned. Eventually, he admitted he had a drug problem and entered rehab. That was a big moment because it showed he was trying to turn his life around. In recent years, he's been seen on some reality shows and doing music again, but he hasn't fully returned to acting like he did before. He's still working on himself, and that's okay. 4. Dee Dee Davis.
Uncle Bernie gonna take a nap for 1 hour, just 1 hour. And then you can read, we play Dolly, whatever else you want to do, okay?
Okay,
Good.
but first I'll read here.
Dee Dee Davis was that adorable little girl from the Bernie Mac show. She played Brianna, who everyone called Baby Girl. Her character was sweet, funny, and honestly one of the cutest parts of the show. She had great chemistry with Bernie Mac, and fans loved watching their bond grow on screen. Dee Dee had perfect timing for her age, and it seemed like she had a big future in acting. But after the Bernie Mac show ended, Dee Dee totally disappeared from Hollywood. She didn't move on to more shows or movies like other child stars. She just stepped away from acting altogether. A lot of people didn't even realize she was gone until years later when they started wondering, hey, whatever happened to Baby Girl? Turns out, Dee Dee left the spotlight because she wanted a normal life. She focused on school, stayed out of the drama, and didn't try to chase fame. She didn't do interviews or keep showing up in public like some other child stars. She just lived quietly, away from cameras and red carpets. Later on, she became a mom and started her own family. She occasionally posts on social media, but she's never said anything about wanting to return to acting. From what people can see, she seems happy with the life she chose. And honestly, that's pretty cool. Not everyone wants to stay in the spotlight forever. Some people do one great thing and then walk away, and that's exactly what Dee Dee did. She made a mark with the Bernie Mac show, and that's enough for fans to remember her. She gave us laughs, cute moments, and a whole lot of heart. 5. Marcus T. Paulk.
You gotta listen to Mo, man. Alicia is not the girl for you.
Hakeem, when you get a college girl, we'll talk.
Marcus T. Paulk was best known for playing Miles, the funny little brother, on the hit show Moshe. If you grew up watching it, you definitely remember his one-liners, goofy moments, and how he always got on his sister's nerves in the funniest way. He was the kid who added humor and heart to every episode, and it seemed like he had a bright future in Hollywood. After Moesha ended, Marcus kept acting for a bit. He appeared in a few movies and shows, like Roll Bounce and some small roles here and there, but he never really landed anything as big as Moshe. Over time, the roles slowed down, and he slowly faded from the spotlight. People who once saw him on their screen started wondering where he went. Things got a little rough for Marcus later on. He had some legal problems, including an arrest for domestic violence and a DUI. These issues made headlines, and for a while, that's what people were talking about instead of his acting. It was hard to watch because fans remembered him as that sweet kid on TV, not the guy in trouble with the law. Even though he had some tough moments, Marcus didn't completely disappear. He's been working on music and has made appearances at events. But as far as acting goes, he hasn't had any major roles in a long time. He pops up now and then, but not in anything huge like he did when he was younger. It feels like Marcus is still trying to figure things out. He hasn't had the big comeback that some child stars get, but he hasn't totally vanished either. He's kind of in between, still out there, but not really in the Hollywood scene like he used to be. 6. Brandon Hammond.
It's not my fault, it's all y'all's fault. Y'all messed up the family. Can't you see that? Big Mama wanted me to get everyone together for a Sunday dinner. But I didn't know how to do that, because all y'all do is fight.
Brandon Hammond was one of those child actors who could seriously act, like not just cute kid roles, he had real talent. If you watched movies like Soul Food, Mars Attacks, or The Fan, you'll remember him. He had this deep, emotional presence for such a young actor. In Soul Food, his character narrated the story and brought so much heart to the film. People really thought he'd become a huge star. But after a few amazing performances in the late 90s, Brandon kind of disappeared. By the early 2000s, he was no longer showing up in movies or on TV. There was no big meltdown or drama. He just slowly stepped away from acting. A lot of fans didn't even notice at first, but after a while, people started wondering, what happened to that kid from Soul Food? Turns out, Brandon didn't leave because he was forced out or anything like that. He simply wanted to do something different. He got into writing and started focusing on screenplays and filmmaking. Instead of being in front of the camera, he moved behind it. That's actually pretty cool because not all actors make that transition. He's been working quietly, creating short films and writing scripts. He even talked in an interview about how he still loves storytelling, just from a different angle now. He said acting was a great chapter in his life, but writing gave him a new passion, so while he's no longer a Hollywood face, he's still part of the creative world. Now let's check in on someone who grew up on one of the funniest family sitcoms of the 2000s. 7. Camille Winbush. Camille Winbush was super well known for playing Vanessa on The Bernie Mac Show. She was the smart, sassy niece who always had something clever to say. Even though she was a teenager on the show, she handled her role like a pro. A lot of people thought she'd blow up after that and become a big-time actress. But after The Bernie Mac Show ended, Camille didn't really stay in the spotlight. She did a few small roles here and there, like on The Secret Life of the American Teenager, but nothing as major as her role with Bernie Mac. Slowly, she just kind of faded from the acting world. She didn't make a big announcement or anything. She just stopped showing up on our screens. It turns out she decided to focus on other things in her life. Camille started getting into business and music. She's mentioned in interviews that she wanted to take control of her career and do things her own way. She's sung in a jazz band before and has been involved in projects outside of acting, like running her own skincare line and other business ventures. Even though she's not acting much anymore, she still keeps in touch with her fans through social media. She posts updates about her life, her business moves, and sometimes shares throwbacks from her Bernie Mac Show days. She's super chill and down to earth, and fans still really love her for who she is. Camille didn't disappear because of some scandal or drama. She just chose a different path. And honestly, that's something to respect. Not every child star wants to stay in the Hollywood grind forever. Some want to grow, try new things, and live a more private life. 8. Lark Voorhees.
My horoscope says we're destined to dance together.
My horoscope says, beware of dorks.
Well, I'll protect you from them.
Lark Voorhees was a big name back in the day. She played Lisa Turtle on Saved by the Bell, one of the most stylish and confident characters on the show. Everyone loved her fashion, her attitude, and how she stood out. Lark was one of the first black teen stars on a hit show like that, and she really made a mark. After Saved by the Bell ended, she did a few more shows and movies, but nothing ever reached the same level of fame. Slowly, she started to fade from Hollywood. She wasn't showing up at events, doing interviews, or landing roles like she used to. Fans started wondering where she went and why she wasn't part of any reunions or revivals. Later on, it came out that Lark had been dealing with mental health issues. Her interviews became kind of confusing, and people started noticing something was off. It wasn't until her mom said she had a mental disorder that people began to understand what was going on. Lark herself later confirmed she had been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which affects mood and thinking. That explained a lot, and it made fans more understanding. It also showed how tough life can be after childhood fame, especially when you're struggling privately. Lark stayed out of the spotlight for years, just living quietly and focusing on her health. She didn't go the tabloid route or try to stay famous. She just stepped away. In 2020, she made a small return. She appeared on the Dr. Oz show and talked openly about her mental health for the first time. She also showed up briefly in the Saved by the Bell reboot, which made longtime fans really happy to see her again. Even if it was just for a moment, it meant a lot. 9. Shadia Simmons.
That can't be her.
Well, how many Maury Box could there be on one airplane?
But she's white.
Shadia Simmons was one of those Disney Channel stars who gave us some unforgettable moments. If you were a Disney kid, you probably remember her from The Color of Friendship. That movie was deep and emotional, and Shadia played her role perfectly. She also showed up in Zenon, The Zequel, and the sci-fi show Strange Days at Blake Halsey High. She wasn't just another background actor, she had real talent and a strong screen presence. At the time, it seemed like she was on the path to becoming a big name in Hollywood, but after a few years, she started to disappear from the spotlight. She stopped doing movies and shows, and fans started asking, what happened to Shadia Simmons? Well, the truth is, Shadia chose to leave Hollywood on her own. She decided to step away from acting and live a more normal life. She didn't make a big scene about it. She just quietly moved on to something else. Teaching. Yep, from Disney star to school teacher. That's a big change, but it shows how grounded she really is. She now works as a teacher in Canada and helps guide young students, probably using her own life experiences to do it. Imagine having a former Disney actress as your teacher. Pretty cool, right? She's also a mom and has built a private, peaceful life far from the cameras and flashing lights. What's inspiring about Shadia is that she didn't leave because of some scandal or failure. She left because she wanted something different, and she succeeded. She created a new path for herself that didn't depend on fame or attention. That takes courage and maturity. 10th, Carlton Harris.
I could become famous. I can see my name in lights right now. Nicholas the Great. Do you see them? No.
Carlton Harris is one of those child actors who had a lot of potential but then totally vanished. Most people remember him from The Parenthood, a 90s family sitcom that aired on the WB. It was a funny and heartwarming show, and Carlton played one of the kids. He had charm, solid acting skills, and seemed like someone who would keep growing in Hollywood. But after that show, he basically disappeared from the public eye. Like, really disappeared. No more shows, no movies, no interviews, no red carpet moments, nothing. It's like he just stepped out of Hollywood and never looked back. Even online, there's not much info about him. It's actually kind of strange how little we know about where he went or what he's doing now. There's no news about him getting into trouble or having some big scandal, which is good. But there's also no sign that he stayed in the entertainment world at all. No behind-the-scenes work, no voice acting, not even reality TV appearances. That's rare these days, especially for someone who was part of a well-known show. Some fans have tried to find out where he went, but there aren't many answers. It's like he made a clean break from fame and chose to live a totally private life. Maybe he just wanted to be normal and do something outside of acting. Maybe he got tired of the spotlight or didn't like the Hollywood lifestyle. Honestly, there's something kind of cool about that. It takes guts to walk away from a career that most people dream of. And if he's happy wherever he is, then that's what matters most. Carlton Harris may not be a household name anymore, but he's still remembered by fans of The Parenthood. He was part of a show that made people laugh and brought families together. That's not something people forget easily. Up next, we're rewinding all the way back to the 1970s to spotlight a child star who became famous over a single fast food line. 11th, Rodney Allen Rippey.
What name?
Rodney.
Rodney what?
Rodney Allen Rippey.
Give it a try, Rodney. Tell us how you like it.
Rodney Allen Rippey was one of the biggest child stars of the 1970s, all thanks to a fast food commercial. He became super famous for a Jack in the Box ad where he held a burger that was way too big for him and said, "It's too big a eat." That one line made him a national sensation. People loved him. He was cute, funny, and had this charm that made him stand out from the crowd. After the commercial, he didn't just stop there. He ended up doing TV shows, talk shows, and even had his own little music career. For a while, it seemed like Rodney was going to have a long career in entertainment. But then, just as quickly as he became famous, he kind of disappeared. One day he was everywhere, and the next, gone. As he got older, the fame started to fade. He stopped getting acting roles and wasn't in the spotlight anymore. But the cool part is, Rodney didn't fall apart or end up in trouble like some other child stars. He just took a different path. He stayed out of drama and chose to live a more normal life. Rodney ended up going to college and even got into business and marketing. He's worked behind the scenes in media and has even run for political office a couple of times. He also started his own company, proving that he was more than just a cute kid from a commercial. Even though he's no longer acting or doing TV, he still pops up now and then for interviews or events, especially when people talk about old school commercials or famous child stars. He's always remembered for that one iconic moment, and honestly, that's kind of legendary. 12. Vanessa Baden.
And this is my boyfriend, Cal.
I already know Cal.
Oh yeah? Well, back off!
Vanessa Baden was a big part of many 90s kids' childhoods. She starred on Gula Gula Island, a fun and colorful show that taught kids about culture, music, and family. Later, she played Kira on Kenan and Kel, the smart and sassy little sister who always had something funny to say. Vanessa had a lot of talent and confidence, and fans loved watching her grow up on TV. But after Kenan and Kel ended, Vanessa kind of disappeared from acting. She wasn't showing up in other shows or movies like people expected. She didn't go on talk shows or post about her life. It was like she just stepped out of the Hollywood spotlight. Turns out, she didn't leave because of any scandal or failure. She left because she wanted to explore other parts of her creativity. Vanessa went to college and started focusing on writing, producing, and even directing. She wasn't done telling stories, she just didn't want to be in front of the camera anymore. And she did amazing things. Vanessa co-wrote and starred in a web series called Giants, which got a lot of love and even won a Daytime Emmy Award. That's a big deal. It showed that even though she wasn't a child star anymore, she still had something powerful to say. She also got into social justice work and wrote essays about being a black woman in the entertainment industry. Vanessa didn't just grow up, she leveled up. She used her voice in a whole new way, and people started noticing her all over again. Now she works as a writer and producer in Hollywood, helping create stories from behind the scenes. She still acts a little sometimes, but she's clearly found her true passion in making things happen off camera. 13. Rachel True.
Mona, it has been too long since we've seen each other. I mean, look, you have breasts. Me too.
Rachel True was one of those actresses who stood out the second she appeared on screen. Most people remember her as Rochelle from The Craft, where she played one of the 4 teen witches. She was strong, real, and brought a lot of emotion to the role. After that, she was also in Half and Half, a super fun sitcom where she played Mona, the smart and quirky half-sister. Rachel had a vibe that was different, in a good way, and fans really connected with her. But after Half and Half ended, Rachel kind of disappeared from Hollywood. She wasn't landing big roles anymore, and people didn't really see her in TV or movies like they used to. For a while, it seemed like she had just faded out of the spotlight. The sad part? A big reason for her fade was Hollywood itself. Rachel has been open about how being a black actress, especially in horror or comedy, made it hard to get certain roles. Even though she was talented, the industry didn't always give her the same chances as others. She talked about not getting invited to the Craft reunion panels, even though she was one of the main stars. That really hurt, and fans were upset too. But Rachel didn't quit. She took a step back, focused on herself, and found new ways to express her creativity. She became a tarot card reader and even wrote a book called True Heart Intuitive Tarot, which mixed her spiritual side with her Hollywood experience. She also started showing up at conventions and indie film events, slowly returning to the spotlight on her own terms. Lately, she's popped up in some smaller projects and voice work, and fans are happy to see her again. She hasn't returned to big-budget films, but she's doing what she loves and making sure her voice is heard. 14. Taj Mowry.
If you really are Santa, tell me if I've been naughty or nice.
Naughty.
Wow! You really are Santa.
Taji Mowry was the genius little brother we all loved from the show Smart Guy. He played T.J. Henderson, a super smart kid who skipped grades and ended up in high school way earlier than normal. But even though his character was super smart, Taj was also funny, chill, and totally relatable. Everyone thought he'd go on to become a big Hollywood star. After Smart Guy ended, Taj didn't completely disappear, but he wasn't as visible either. He did some voice work like playing Wade in Kim Possible and showed up in a few Disney Channel movies. But compared to his big role in Smart Guy, the stuff he did later didn't get as much attention. People who grew up watching him started asking, "Where's Taj now?" Instead of chasing big acting roles, Taj decided to take a different route. He focused more on smaller projects, guest starring in shows here and there, and doing voice acting. He also explored music, releasing a few songs and showing that he's got a good singing voice too. But he kept things low-key and didn't really try to be in the spotlight all the time like some other child stars. Even though he's not on magazine covers or in blockbuster movies, Taj never totally left the industry. He starred in the sitcom Baby Daddy for several seasons, which gave him a new fan base. And he's stayed connected to the entertainment world through writing, producing, and interviews. He's also really close with his famous sisters, Tia and Tamara Mowry, and sometimes fans still see him in their social media posts or joint interviews. Taj Mowry may not be as famous now as he was back in the Smart Guy days, but he's still out there doing his thing. He didn't crash, he didn't fade away, he just chose a slower, more private path. And honestly, it seems like he's happy with that. 15. Tatiana Ali.
Hey there, Lord, my name is Ashley Banks. My family and friends want to give you some thanks. So before this dinner's all swallowed and chewed, thank you, God, for this stupid food.
Tatiana Ali was everyone's favorite little sister on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She played Ashley Banks, the youngest in the Banks family, and people loved how sweet, smart, and stylish she was. She grew up right in front of our eyes on that show, and by the time it ended, everyone thought she'd be Hollywood's next big star. But after Fresh Prince, Tatiana didn't jump straight into a bunch of major TV shows or blockbuster movies like some people expected. Instead, she chose a different path. She went to college and focused on her education. That's not something a lot of celebrities do after a hit show, but Tatiana was always known for being smart and grounded. She also started a music career. In the late 90s, she released an album called Kiss the Sky, and it actually did pretty well. Her single Daydreamin' was a hit, and for a while, she was showing the world that she could sing just as well as she could act. But after that, she didn't really stay in the music spotlight either. Over the years, she's done a few acting roles, mainly in TV movies, indie films, and guest spots, but nothing as big as Fresh Prince. She's also appeared in some daytime soap operas and made-for-TV movies. She's stayed connected to the industry, but she clearly didn't chase fame the way some other stars do. What's cool is that she's also been involved in activism and education. She's spoken out about issues that matter, supported political causes, and used her voice for more than just entertainment. She's also started a family and seems to enjoy a more private life, away from the Hollywood drama. Tatiana Ali didn't vanish, but she stepped back. She chose to live life on her own terms, and she's doing just fine. Fans still love her, and anytime she appears on screen or in an interview, people get excited. 16th Jazz Ray Cole.
What's the problem?
I see two big problems.
What is going on underneath the shirt?
Oh, Mom, it's called a bosom buddy.
Jazz Ray Cole was the original Claire Kyle in Season 1 of My Wife and Kids. She played the oldest daughter in the family and had a lot of fun energy and sass. She fit right in with the cast, and fans really liked her. But after the first season ended, something surprising happened. She was replaced. A new actress took over the role, and Jazz was suddenly gone from the show with no explanation in the storyline. A lot of people wondered what happened. At first, there were rumors and guesses, but later on it came out that her mom didn't want her to be part of a storyline in Season 2 that involved teenage pregnancy. So Jazz didn't return, and the show went on without her. After that, she didn't really show up in many big roles for a while. She didn't completely vanish, though. She did some guest spots on different shows like The Office, Everybody Hates Chris, and Monk, but none of them were leading roles. She was around, but not as much as people expected after such a strong start. Even though she was out of the spotlight for a bit, Jazz didn't give up on acting. She kept working in the background and stayed focused. In more recent years, she made a quiet comeback. She played roles in shows like The Soul Man, The Quad, and Netflix's The Lincoln Lawyer. So she didn't totally leave the industry. She just took a longer, less flashy path. Jazz also trained as a professional dancer, which she's been passionate about since she was young. She has worked as a choreographer and stayed involved in creative work outside of just acting. If you grew up watching any of them, let us know which one surprised you the most in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a throwback like this again.